Hello, fantasy book lovers, TGIF. This is Thank Gods It's Fantasy Podcast. We are Kayla, Veronica, and Bryanna, three best friends who love talking about all things books. From the romance to the conflict, and of course, the morally gray men. Every 2 weeks, we'll be getting together to talk about theories, opinions, and reviews of our current read. Please read along, join in, and be one of our book besties too. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for joining us. In this episode today, we are going to do part 2 of our Crescent City 1 House of Earth and Blood recap. All right, guys, so for today, it's going to be similar to what we did in part 1. We are diving back into Crescent City 1 by Sarah J. Maas, but we are going to cover part 3 and 4 of the book. So the second half of the book. What we're going to do is the same as previously. We're going to do an overview of each section, and then we will go in and talk about it once we are done. Once we are all the way done with the entire thing, then we will recap the entire book. It is going to be a little bit longer than it typically is, because this is a different format than what we are doing in the future going forward with our podcast. But it's a recap. We're getting ready for Crescent City 3. So
let's go.
You got to get into it, right? So I'm going to pass it on over to Bree, who is going to get us into part 3, the canyon.
All right, bear with me, guys. A lot happens in part 3. So first we start off with Rune meeting the stunning Medwitch to inquire about repairing the horn, but he never gets her name. Bryce starts playfully changing her name in Hunt's phone, including adding fun selfies of herself. It appears their living arrangement is getting much more comfortable. Victoria calls after discovering a picture of the demon's foot. Bryce and Hunt go searching for it in the area where it had been seen, and upon further investigation, they discover a sewer nearby. Is it using the sewer system to get around? All the sewers lead to the Istros River. Time to get in contact with one of the river folk. Bryce and Hunt return from their adventure and wash off the filth of the street after peeking into the sewer system. While Hunt goes looking for some more soap in the linen closet, he stumbles upon, oh wait, is that a vibrator? Oh, no. That's Jelly Jubilee, a stuffed, glittery, purple unicorn Pegasus. The teasing that commences about her collection of stuffed Pegasus is comical, but Bryce has no shame about her collection. She only then teases Hunt for thinking it might be a vibrator, because quite frankly, what else would you think a bright, glittery purple thing is? Bryce and Hunt later go to the Istros River. Yes. They later go to the Istros River as planned to see if any bodies have been found in the river with the markings like that given by the Crystallis demon. We meet Therion, mayor and captain of intelligence for the River Queen. Hunt knows Therion after working on a case together after a string of mayor murders the year prior, one of which was Therion's sister. As far as Therion is aware, they haven't found any bodies. Dark conversation aside, Therion can't help but flirt with Bryce. We also get our first look at a sweet little otter in a yellow reflective vest traveling past them to deliver a message. Bryce squeals in excitement. Same. And Therion then offers to send her an otter if he needs to get in contact with them, and especially if he finds any bodies similar to the ones that Bryce and Hunt are describing. Later, Bryce reveals that the quote on her back is the only thing the Oracle actually said to Danica, which of course was, "Through love, all is possible." Bryce and Hunt then go to the Wolves' Den in Moonwood under the guise of trying to see the Prime. We first meet Amelie at the front gates. She is the leader of the Black Rose Pack. Amelie taunts Bryce about going to fuck someone in the bathroom again. Hunt doesn't like that and threatens Amelie. They manage to continue inside the gates, where we then meet Ethan, Connor's brother, second of the Black Rose Pack. We see his rage towards Bryce for her lack of loyalty to Connor and for not messaging or calling him back after Connor's death. Ethan takes some pleasure in revealing that Sabine will actually be meeting with them instead of the Prime, as the Prime is taking a nap. Love this level of leadership. Thankfully, Sabine plays into Bryce and Hunt's plan, and they question her about Danica's whereabouts the night the horn was stolen. Sabine says that Danica wasn't at the temple and had nothing to do with the horn getting stolen. Bryce and Hunt feel like her lies allude to her involvement in the murders. As they leave, Bryce can't help but warn Ethan that the attacks are happening again. Maybe she couldn't have saved Connor, but she can do this much. Bryce reveals to Hunt that a song was created based on the messages Bryce had sent the night Danica and the pack died. Sadly, someone sent 1,000 printed out lyric sheets of that song to Bryce's new apartment. She went up to the roof to burn them, but instead found herself staring over the ledge that winter. Juniper happened to randomly call her at the exact moment Bryce was contemplating just walking straight over the ledge. How sad. Hunt attempts to take a night off and hangs out with the members of the 33rd for the first time, but Bryce, being Bryce, leaves her apartment within an hour, and Hunt has to go check on her. Hunt asks what was so important that she had to break her promise to him for not leaving the apartment. This turns into a heated moment where he leans in, lightning crackling, and she meets his eyes, a nice rosy blush tinting her cheeks. Distracted, the Crystallos demon sneaks up on him and gets a bite. Hunt attempts to call his lightning, but to no avail. Oh shit! The venom from the Crystallos nullifies the powers of whoever it bites. Bryce and Hunt thankfully managed to slaughter the demon between his knife skills and her gun skills. The Medwitch from earlier then helps remove the venom from Hunt's bite. Afterwards, she visits the scene of the accident and runs into Rune again. And she mentions that she will send her research to him soon. But once again, we still don't know this girl's name.
How?
Things, for real, honestly. Things continue to heat up for Hunt and Bryce. This time, the setting involves her apartment rooftop and pouring down rain. I mean, come on! Hunt nuzzles into Bryce's neck, brushing his lips against that exact spot. Hunt goes to reach for Bryce's ass when Sabine so rudely interrupts by throwing open the roof door and pointing a gun right at Bryce's heart. Bryce and Hunt decide this is the perfect opportunity to accuse Sabine of the murders, including the murder of her own daughter. I don't know about you guys, but that does not feel like the right time to me personally. We then find out Sabine had nothing to do with Danica's murder and that Danica stole the horn and Sabine messed with the footage to cover up Danica's crime. Sabine threatens to kill Bryce if Danica's legacy is ruined. The Medwitch then messages Rune, I'm guessing under an untitled number, about a new drug on the market that is synthetic healing magic that might be able to repair the horn. Therion sends an otter to Bryce. Love. Sadly, the message does not match the deliverer, and it contains pictures of a dead body that has similar markings to that of the other Crystallos murder victims. The picture looks to be the same night that Hunt and Bryce were also attacked. Therion also looks into the records and finds 2 unidentified bodies with similar markings that were found around the time that Danica and the pack died. Bryce decides she needs to find out more about Danica's death. And of course, the best way to do this is to summon a demon named Adis, Prince of them. We discover that Adis previously visited her as a cat when she was 13 years old after visiting the Oracle. The only thing he offers in advice is to run the tests again and find what is in between. Bryce calls Declan and finds out it is possible to run a scent diagnostic that utilizes Fate tech. Bryce then goes to yell at Daddy Dearest as he could have helped provide this tech when things initially went down. Rune shows up and intervenes before she gets to their dad, and she takes out a fraction of her anger on her brother. And then she breaks her almost 2 years of sobriety by drinking some whiskey. Hunt allows her to be in her feels and heads home since Bryce isn't playing very nice at the moment. Bryce then feels bad and brings home some groceries and cooks him an apology dinner, although she's not the best cook. Bryce also can't help but offer the extra room in her apartment to be permanently his. We love. Bryce also has a dream about Adis in his cat form, similar to that of their initial meeting. Will that be important later? Micah has punishment waiting for Hunt since he is taking too long in this case and for falsely accusing Sabine. Bryce senses something is off when she can't get a hold of Hunt. She calls her brother in a panic to try and find him. Hunt then shows up, covered in blood. He heads straight for his room, shutting the door behind him. He goes to the bathroom to perform his sadistic ritual of burning himself with scalding hot water in the shower. Bryce can't help but check on him, and when he doesn't respond, she goes into the bathroom where she finds him just sitting on the shower floor naked. She discovers the boiling water and lowers the temperature before helping him scrub his hair and most, but not all, of his body. She then decides to get him dried off, and my favorite visual was holding his underwear out for him to step into.
I know.
Before then putting him to bed, she has him lay in her lap and she strokes his hair as he falls asleep, which
Can you imagine her trying to avoid his piece?
But when... Also,
staring right at her.
Yes, the fact she's like trying not to look, I was like, girl, how did you not look? But then also
she definitely looked.
Oh, 100%. But I also love the visualization because I feel like, yeah, she's a curvy one, but I still picture her not being like, you know, like tall or anything. And I pictured him being massive. So I'm picturing this massive freaking man just
with big old wings,
curled up like a child in her lap, just like they're there.
They're there.
Like,
sorrows.
But he's probably never gotten that before.
I know, but that's why I think I
like
loved
ever.
Like picturing that so much. Is just like he's just a big teddy bear in this moment. Obviously, he's not normally sad. A big teddy bear, but in this moment, he's a big teddy bear. So then a lot of little things happen. Jesiba purchases a knock that fills the large empty tank for the antiquities place. Lahabah absolutely despises this creature. Which, yes, sounds terrifying. Hunt brings up that Bryce should see a Medwitch about her leg that has continued to give her grief since it was sliced by that demon 2 years ago. Vic also calls and after utilizing the Fey tech because she discovers that synth was all over Danica's clothing. So did she get it on herself because she worked at Red Nerd Industries? Oh, also, shit, apparently synth contains a small dose of obsidian salt, the same thing used to summon demons. How interesting. Hunt has the pleasure of meeting Bryce's parents over a video call. Bryce is unsuccessful in avoiding her parents any longer. Hunt even mentions to Ember, Bryce's mom, that he has had the honor of meeting Jelly Jubilee. Ember recognizes that Bryce must really like him if she knows her dirty little secret. Hunt decides it's also an opportune time to bring up Bryce's old leg injury that her parents know nothing about. Her parents are pretty upset that they didn't know and plead with her to get it looked at. Bryce decides that's the time to end the phone call. And of course, Ember, being the same as Bryce, calls back minutes later to interrogate her daughter further and further push her into going to get it checked out. Bryce then goes to the meat market to see if anyone is selling synth. The Viper Queen sends a text to one of the vendors telling Bryce to check on the Istros River. They then go to the river to question Therion. He explains that things happen on the river, not in it, and that Danica had been seen doing a drug deal on a boat the day before she was murdered. Bryce cannot believe that Danica would have anything to do with that. She then calls Fury, who she hasn't hardly heard from in 2 whole years. She actually answers, and then she manages to question her about if Danica ever mentioned synth to her. Fury eventually confesses that Danica had and that Bryce should stay away from it. Danica didn't want to tell Bryce about it because she was trying to protect her from trying the drug, since she was basically doing all the other drugs at that time. Bryce then calls Rune to ask what the Medwitch told him about synth. Rune says that her primary focus is attempting to make an antidote for it, but that would require more crystallos venom. Where could he get some? Bryce decides to visit the Medwitch about her leg, which will in turn give the Medwitch more venom to come up with an antidote for synth. Hunt helps Bryce get through this agonizing pain and gives her a feather-light kiss across her lips as a distraction, but was that all? The Medwitch is able to get the venom she needs. Bryce stops by a bakery and picks up some chocolate croissants before heading to the river to sit on a bench that overlooks the sleeping city. Hunt discovers it was Danica's birthday, and Bryce is upset that no one remembered this year. Bryce opens the box to discover the word trash written in a chocolate drizzle along the top. Hunt, not liking this, flies away immediately and finds Amelie pinning her against a wall by the throat and threatening her. Bryce fears not so much for Amelie, but for what Hunt's repercussions are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Micah, shockingly, calls Hunt and Bryce to his office. Sabine demands justice for what Hunt did to Amelie, and he gets the living death, which means Hunt's wings are cut clean off. Bryce watches and screams the whole time. She then lays into Sabine for being an awful person and a horrible mother. Sabine acknowledges that she knows Bryce's secret, that she made a bargain with the Underking to give up her spot in the Bone Quarter for Danica. Sabine is absolutely revolted by this and thinks Danica should have been dumped in the river and died because she was a coward when she died and should be a coward. And that is
Mom
just
of the year right there.
I hate her so much.
That whole part just every time I'm like, you're awful. You're an awful human being, and I hate you. Ugh.
Yeah.
Oh, the anger.
Some people shouldn't have kids, okay?
Yeah, she should not. So Bryce, after his wings have been cut off, helps take care of him and his wounds until she has to go back to work because, again, she gets no days off. Bryce calls in Rune to help take over while she has to go to work. Bryce finally manages to log into Danica's old Redner account. She does some searching and finds a hidden file that has a picture of Danica's jacket. Bryce carefully feels Danica's jacket and manages to find a thumb drive that reveals exactly what synth does to humans in high doses. They can rip veneer to literal pieces, just like how Danica and the pack were found dead. Bryce goes to Hunt to show her findings to him. Hunt, after this is all revealed, decides this is a great time to mention he wants an afterword with Bryce when all the investigation stuff is over. This leads to a very heated moment where Hunt and Bryce start with a steamy makeout.
Tell me more.
Hunt then professes
What happened?
Stop it. Hunt professes he wants Bryce to have her turn first, and he so kindly delivers her a shattering orgasm. Sadly, the letdown comes much quicker than anticipated as Bryce realizes the wounds on Hunt's back have reopened during the heat of the moment. Bryce has a public Medwitch come to redress his wounds. Hunt decides to also ask when he's cleared for sex again. The public Medwitch tells Hunt no funny business until his wings have grown back in and he can fly again. Sad day.
Wah, wah. Mm-hmm. Such a letdown.
I know, this poor Medwitch is like, cock block.
Yeah.
Anyway, that night, Bryce wakes up around 3 a.m. and not wanting to disturb Hunt, she sneaks away and heads to her old apartment building that is in the process of burning down. She must be getting close to some answers. Therion happens to shoot Bryce a text saying that a deal is happening on the river right now. She meets him and he has a skimmer waiting for her. They head to a barge and see 6 people doing a deal, one of which is the Viper Queen. And oh shit, is that Hunt Athalar? The betrayal?
Fuck.
We see Hunt is joined by Victoria and Justinian. Therion pulls up and tells the Viper Queen she is under arrest. Bryce joins in and asks Hunt what the hell is going on. Micah then flies in with Naomi and Isaiah at his sides. The Viper Queen orchestrated this setup with Micah to receive a favor from him in the future. Micah mentions that Hunt knew about synth days before she did. He actually found out when he had gone after the drug lords that night that Bryce had taken care of him. Hunt, Vic, and Justinian had hoped the synth would help them overthrow their masters. Hunt tries to explain that he wanted to stop the deal after seeing its effects in the video, but it was too late. Micah shares that Danica sold synth, but not only that, she used the synth on herself and was addicted to it. That horrible night, Danica took too much synth and she ended up killing the whole pack and then herself. The combination of Danica's power and the synth is what summoned the Crystallos demon. Micah also delivers another blow by telling Bryce that Hunt had already known about how Danica died. What the fuck? Mm-hmm. Hunt lunges towards Bryce, hoping to explain, but Fury, who just shows up now finally,
always
interrupts and holds a gun to his head and tells the Viper Queen to leave and Micah to leave Bryce the hell alone. We wrap up part 3 with Bryce going back to her apartment with Fury. Rune meets them there, and she proceeds to try to hazily wrap her mind around everything that just unfolded and the utter heartbreak she must feel after learning about Hunt's involvement.
So much. Oh my god. Okay. Like, honestly, can Bryce take any more heartbreak?
No, the emotional roller coaster that she's on. Oh my gosh.
I mean, you gotta sympathize with her at this point at least. God damn.
I mean, were you guys... Okay, so I can think back, honestly. I can still remember when I first read this. Were you expecting Hunt to be the one on that barge?
No, never.
No.
No.
I'm pretty good at guessing things, and I was shocked.
Which is impressive for you.
But did you believe him? Did you believe him when he was saying, like, no, I was trying to, like, cancel this deal? And or did you, like, do you think he was trying to, like, backpedal and, like, cover up his mistake? Again.
I don't know. Honestly, I think that his explanation of why they were doing it made sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
He was still caught up in everything that he did with Shahar.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They still did not want to answer to their overlords. They didn't want to have a handler. They wanted to be free.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of like, okay, now we really know the real Hunt Athalar, which
I know
was just so sad. I also just find it weirdly coincidental. She just wakes up, and that happens to be the night that he also goes out. And then she happens to get a text from Therian in the middle of all this. Like, all of that was a little like...
And then where did Fury come from?
I mean, Fury knows everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I judge nothing when it comes to Fury. I'm like, you just know everything, I think, and I just don't question that for some reason. But yes, it did feel a little too coincidental the way things lined up. I do agree with that. It was, I guess, smart thinking on her part, but I was just like, we just perfectly, he went off on his own, she went off on her, like, they had been, like, basically together the whole time.
Yeah.
But now we go off.
Yeah, and he didn't notice that she was not in the apartment at that point.
Well, was he gone first, though? That's my thing. Was she, like, had he already left? And then she, like, I don't know how that would have happened. Like, because, I mean, let's be real. He can be sneaky, I think.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and they were definitely still staying in their own rooms at that point.
Yeah. But... Okay, so you know how he said he went there and he was trying to, like, stop the whole transaction? Did they just meet on the boat? Or why couldn't he just call them? Like, why did he actually have to be there?
I think...
he did try to call Justinian, and he said no. They were too far into it.
I know, but then why did he still go if he didn't want to do it anymore?
Because I think he still cared for Justinian and Vic and wanted to make sure that it went down the way it should go down. Like, I think he's a good man in that element. Like, okay,
he didn't want to leave them.
I'm not going to abandon you just because I don't agree with it in the end.
Yeah, and he still agrees with why they're doing it. Like, he doesn't think that they should use that actual method, but he still thinks that they should get to the same ending. So he can't really fault them for that. We haven't really talked about Justinian. He just putting it out there so people remember him. He is another member of Micah's Triari.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there so everyone knows who.
Sidebar.
Context of who he is.
Yes.
So rolling it way back, because there's a lot that we covered here, and obviously that was a big one at the end that we had to go over. Bryce's almost suicide attempt.
I know.
It's sad because she's such a strong character. She, I think, just has so much personal strength. She's so smart. She's all these things, but still she was pushed to this point because she had really been abandoned by everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
After Danica died, Fury went off and did what Fury does. She still had Juniper, but Juniper was still living her life and dancing and busy and whatnot. So she had basically one of her friends left, but every other part of her life crumbled. She didn't have Ethan anymore because she had pushed him away. And then everything leaked with her messages and her telling Danica that she had slept with someone after just agreeing to Connor.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think it's so sad that she was, you know, pushed to that point. But thank God for
Juniper calling when she did. It's hard, right? Because when you get into such a depressive state, even though you feel like people are, that you're alone or whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes you make yourself alone. Sometimes you like pull everything you are into yourself to try to protect whatever piece that you have left.
Yeah.
And you kind of withdraw from everybody. So yes, she could have called her mom. Her mom absolutely would have been there for her and would have supported her. Her mom would have taken her in. I'm sure of it. If she just would have like reached out to Juniper, like there's just so many things that could have done, but because she was so heartbroken over the loss and then the bullying and then just everything put on blast about it, like it was, I can only imagine it was so hard to like live with that. And then like obviously daily reminders of people just bringing it up and people making songs about it. Like how heart-wrenching is that every time when your heart is already still trying to heal from your best friend?
Well, and those were her private messages. Like she didn't think anyone was ever. I can't imagine censoring my text to you guys like that. How sad that that one moment in time is what's blasted out there, and also 1,000 sheets. That's insane. Also, do we think Amelie did it?
Absolutely, all of it. All of it.
Cool. Because I
100% all of it.
I had that thought, I feel like reading it this time through, where I was like, they never said, and of course they probably just don't know, but I was like, no way it wasn't her.
Okay, hold on. I don't remember because again, I'm the person who forgets things, even though we had just done this and just read it. Was Amelie jealous of Bryce because of Connor or because of
she had a thing for Connor and was never reciprocated, obviously, because Connor had it bad for Bryce. And so it was pointed out at one point, like, she's just jealous because of Bryce and Connor. And so that's really where that hate stemmed from her.
She's also always been in Danica's shadow because they're like the second pack of all the packs, behind the pack of devils. So I think that's an aspect of it too. And then once Danica is gone, really Amelie is kind of the next in line to kind of be Sabine's heir. Even though she's not family. Sabine doesn't have any more family. So yeah, I think that's a part of it too. There's a lot of jealousy in general going on with Amelie.
That makes sense then.
Yeah.
Bitch.
Danica.
Yes.
So much happens in this section.
Yes.
With Danica.
Yes.
So we come to find out she stole the horn. Nobody is surprised. So
I was.
Were you?
I don't look into things. I just.
She's along for the ride, remember?
Okay.
I was
surprised.
surprised.
You were surprised. So back when the horn was stolen, there was a citywide blackout, and then the horn was stolen. That was Danica. Sabine obviously tells us this because she then messed with the footage from Luna's temple. All the stuff with Redner Industries, though, also, what is your take on Danica and her involvement in all of this? Obviously, Micah made a lot of accusations about Danica at the end there also. What are you guys kind of thinking at this point?
I mean, for me, I felt like, because you never really truly find out what Danica's role was in working there necessarily. But for me, I mean, I just wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt because Bryce was just so shook. And so I really kind of agreed with like when Fury had that phone call and she just kept saying like she was trying to protect you. I think any of her involvement with Redner Industries was truly to try and help her best friend out. I think it was like, I want to protect you. You're only half bay. Like, I need to do what I can to make sure like you're in my life forever. So I really felt like it stemmed from that, hopefully. And or maybe she was using it as like a, hey, I think something more is going on here and I want to find it. I think we've got to give Danica a lot of credit. Her brain, I wish I could have been more in her brain also, because I think her and Bryce were very similar in that they are actually very intelligent women and
extremely, yeah.
And people just really don't give them that like benefit. So I try to give her the benefit of the doubt with the whole Redner Industries thing. And then of course, I remember when I initially read this, I do vaguely remember having a lot of feelings at the end of this part. And I just couldn't wrap my head around the idea that Danica just was addicted to drugs and like that's how we're wrapping that up and putting a bow on it. And that's what happened. Like it just didn't sit right with me. Not that I necessarily like super questioned it, but I was, there's gotta be more like there's no way this is just all her. Like that's wild. So I had a really hard time when I initially read this, and for me also it was just overwhelming the information that happened at the end of this part. When I initially read it, I remember finishing the book and being like, I don't know that I understood all of what happened there. And now after reading it 3 times, I'm like, man, I grasped so much more of what actually went down during this whole thing. So yeah, reading it a 3rd time has been really enjoyable because I actually know what the heck is going on here.
Which you hear a lot of when people are reading Crescent City, like the consensus is, like what is happening? What is going on? It's dense and definitely dense and fast, but also not. The world building is huge.
That part's
which
slow.
Is one of the things that people struggle with fantasy in general. I think we touched on that a little bit in our first episode, is trying to keep up with it is hard. Really, really hard.
Well, not even that, but whenever there's so many main characters, it's hard to keep everyone straight. And then you're like, okay, hold on, which one is this? And then it gets really hard to like really understand, unless you're like Kayla, who goes back
and rereads
it to make sure she fully understands before moving ahead. And then she just like, figure that stuff out. But for me, I'm like, I was one of those people who are like, oh well.
What did you guys think about Hunt and Bryce's steamy scene? You go.
Finally. Holy cow. All that buildup, that palpable sexual tension that was just building, all the looks and let's sit on the couch together and my thigh is pressed up against your thigh. Ooh, look at her cute pink underwear underneath this green dress that she just got wrecked in an explosion. Finally, it happened.
I mean, finally.
But also not really.
I was like,
true.
Is that it? That's all
I know. It's very one-sided here.
It's very one-sided.
But thank you, because how often could you guys just...
I do appreciate that it was her-centric, at least.
Yes.
But at that point, y'all, we should be having sex already. Like, come on. Give it to me. Give it to me good.
Yeah, she's been living with you.
Still. Yes.
They've been living together for a month at this point, and they have... Obviously, their relationship has developed a lot during that time. Yes. They have all these like cute little moments that they talk about, and there was a lot of tension.
So much tension. So much tension in this part.
Slow burn, and then some.
Yes.
Like you got a taste, But wait, now we're still gonna slow burn you.
Because now
Yeah,
we
spoiler.
We got like this deep, or maybe this deep.
Stop it.
Spoiler, the slow burn still goes into the next book for a good amount of time.
And ever. I mean, he broke her heart. Of course it does.
He did. He messed up. He keeps messing up, you guys.
Yeah. He's not great at relationships, y'all.
It's like he's only had one or something like that.
I know.
Like 200 years ago. And then she died.
Could you imagine?
She messed him up, though. I tell you what.
Could you imagine, in this day and age, dating 200 years ago from now, and then fast forwarding to now and like trying to date? Like, the difference would be insanity. So I just can't even like wrap my head
did
around
he date
that.
her or did he court her? Because back in the day,
saying. Like, we can't have always been in this like nice city utopian type, like beautiful buildings, the whole night. Like, come on.
No.
But you guys, okay, so I think about this all the time whenever I watch like movies that are set like back in the day. I think the last one I watched was The Last Kingdom. It's a Netflix show.
Yeah.
Anyway, can you imagine? People did not have hygiene the way we have hygiene. They did not have baths and things like that 200 years ago. Like the smell, like.
Yeah, but were they just used to people stinking all the time?
I mean, some
wasn't
people,
a big deal.
Yeah, some people get used to their smells, but still, like
But also, it was very men-centric then.
It was.
So.
That's very true.
I'm glad I live where I live, when I live. Thank
freaking God.
With the man that I live with.
Agreed.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Any other takeaways? We obviously covered a ton in this section, but so many like earth-shattering revelations happen here. Is there anything else that you guys want to touch on?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I
think we can go into the real nitty-gritty of it.
Yeah.
Let's move into part 4, which is one of the most intense parts of any book that I think I've ever read.
Agreed.
So I'm gonna start us off with that one, actually. This is part 4, The Ravine. As punishment for Hunt's involvement, Hunt is detained in the CBD. He's forced to watch via video feed Justinian being crucified in the CBD lobby. Victoria's spirit, because she's a wraith, which is a spirit inhabiting someone's body, is forcibly removed from her current body and shoved into a clear box that is set below Justinian's body, allowing his blood to drip all over it. Eventually, it will then be thrown into the bottom of the sea, where she will be in perpetual torture for eternity. Sandriel comes to Hunt's cell and informs him that his punishment will be that he has been given back to her, which for him is a worse fate than death.
Yes.
She also, because he is now her property, has his phone, so she goes through his phone, sees all of the pictures of him and Bryce, shows them all to him, and then puts them up on that feed for him to just watch on repeat. And he sees the transformation that both him and Bryce have gone through since their first pictures, where it's kind of like a shell of a human, to just like really, really deeply caring about each other. You can just see in the photos. And so she, as another form of torture, puts that up on a screen for him to watch in his cell to see what he believes he'll never have again.
Yes.
Fury comes to Bryce's house, and through an argument that they have about Fury basically abandoning her for the last 2 years, Bryce learns that Fury and Juniper are in a relationship, and that is why Juniper has been in contact with Fury this entire time. She said she could no sooner stop talking to Juniper than she could rip out her own heart.
Yes.
Fury then goes on to tell Bryce that Hunt was given back to Sandriel. In true Bryce fashion, Bryce runs to the CBD to bargain with Sandriel for Hunt's freedom. She offers to pay for him with money that she borrowed from Jesiba, a ridiculous amount of money that would have put her in centuries of debt, and her Archesian amulet that she wears around her neck for protection. She even bargains with her own freedom in his place, but Rune shows up and steps in.
Oh, yeah.
Sandriel takes hold of Bryce's amulet and melts it right in front of her. She then reveals that she knows that Bryce is the bastard daughter of the Autumn King in front of the entire room. When it looks like Sandriel is about to make the deal because she knows that Bryce really is a prize, Rune lays claim to Bryce as his sister and a royal member of his household, using powerful old language that cannot broker. There's no debate there. Bryce turns to him and tells him that she will never forgive him for this because this is now binding and very public. Sandriel's Triari, which Hunt is now once again a part of, then leaves for the summit. Finally, we are getting to the summit. When Bryce leaves the CBD to go, she goes down to the Black Docks just to think. She's almost immediately attacked by a Crystallos demon now that her amulet is gone. Declan, Flynn, and Rune save her. Though she's thankful for their help, she reiterates to Rune that he is dead to her. Also, again, true Bryce fashion. When she gets back home, she frets over her tattoo, worried that the Crystallos ruined her last piece of Danica. Her tattoo that says, "Through love, all is possible," written in a language Danica claims she found in the book in the tattoo shop. The tattoo is mercifully perfectly intact. Now we're finally to the summit. Through Hunt's eyes, we get a quick glimpse of Sandriel's Triari. Pollux, also known as the Hammer, is her commander. Then there's the Hawk, the Hellhound, and the Harpy. Hunt then notes that her spy master, the Hind, is mercifully absent. We don't go into too much more detail about her Triari in this specific one. You'll learn about them later. Oh. Each head of the house and their heirs and their entire entourage enter into the summit like a little mini parade. And they're in full court regalia. Everyone is looking their absolute best. Rune finds out pretty quickly that Medwitch that was oh so pretty and helping them repeatedly is actually Hypaxia Enador, the queen of the Volbaran witches and his would-be betrothed. Whoop! What? He's a little shocked to say the least. The summit is opened via video conference by the 6 Asteri on their crystal thrones, the one on the far end perpetually empty. Hunt describes how awful and unearthly it is to be in their presence, even via video. How his power is nothing but a whisper in the breeze compared to the might of the Asteri. They each held the power of a sacred star. Each could level this planet to dust. Hunt, Rune, Declan, and Hypaxia are the only ones in the room to lift their stare to them while they're speaking. Even Fury keeps her head down. During which Rune reveals his telepathy secret to Hunt and asks how he's doing. He tells him that he will do whatever he can to help him in the long run because he knows that the show that they basically put on back at the CBD was just so that Bryce would stay safe, and he knows that Hunt would do anything for her. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Bryce tortures herself by watching recaps of the summit on the news, just to look for Hunt. The summit drones on, boring everyone in attendance. Several days in, Micah leaves the summit and goes to a meeting. Suspicious much? Everyone thinking that it's for the Asteri because that is the only people that would be able to summon him away from such an important meeting. In reality, he went to see Bryce at her work because he realized that the horn is actually tattooed onto her back. He walks right down into the library where Bryce, Lily, and Syrinx are. She texts Jesiba, who is at the summit, about Micah being there. Jesiba has Declan project her security feeds onto the big screen at the summit. All the heads and Sandriel are now watching Micah and Bryce's interaction. Micah reveals that the Great Library of Parthos, which holds all the knowledge of the ancient world before the Asteri, is the book collection Jesiba owns and guards so heavily. Bryce realizes it was really Micah that killed Danica and the Pack of Devils. And Micah responds by saying, I enjoyed every moment of it.
Bastard.
Micah goes through his long villain's plan, thus confessing all his misgivings to the Senate. Micah reveals he is a major investor in Redner Industries, who manufactured synth, aka synthetic magic, after stealing the recipe from Ophian rebels. Danica helped bring in the Ophian rebels, who had been experimenting with synth to summon the Crystallos demon, which venom nullifies Vanir powers. So the reason that they were even messing with this is they were looking for a way to even the playing field.
Yeah.
They realized later on there's a lot of other uses for synth. Danica stole footage of the Redner trials, which eventually showed that they would lose their mind and tear themselves apart. Mm-hmm. She left these on the drive for Bryce that she had placed in her leather jacket. Micah's plan was to use the horn to open a portal to another world that will help him end the human rebellion. Ultimately, he believes the horn could make him as powerful as an Asteri, and that they would welcome him as being one just like him, even though he wasn't born to it. He admits that he waited for Briggs to be released, went to Bryce's apartment, and disarmed the pack, injected Danica with synth, and watched as she ripped them all apart, and then herself. Micah summoned the Crystallos demon and framed the murders in order to try to find the horn, which was masked by Bryce's Archesian amulet. That is why she's been protected this entire time. That's why the Crystallos demons have not been able to ever find her and find the horn. It's because she had that amulet on. After his full confession, Micah injects Bryce with synth. Bryce reaches for a book in the library that creates a bubble around her that Micah can't penetrate. Instead, he grabs Syrinx and throws him into the tank with a knock.
No.
Can I just tell you, that creature creeped me out. Mm-hmm. Very rapey vibes. Just could not. Nope. Mm-hmm. He freaked me out. Anyway, Micah then pins Bryce face down and aims his power into her back with the tattoo containing the horn. After the initial outward blast of power and pain, nothing noticeable happens. Honestly, where the hell is the Ox? Because they have already been called by the people of the summit at this point. Taking a little long there, people.
Yeah.
Bryce uses his momentary shock to grab another book and blast Micah in the chest with its power. And Lahabah uses another one to blast him towards a bathroom door. The book locks him in the bathroom, and that temporarily contains him. Bryce runs to save Syrinx, who is drowning in the tank. She gets into the tank herself to save him, as he is now completely limp. All still watching from the summit, Flynn declares that this is Bryce's ordeal. And the reason why the knock wasn't actually going for Syrinx is because he was waiting for Bryce. This was completely a trap. He knew who he wanted. Mm-hmm. Bryce fights the knock off and makes a break for the hatch. She's able to get Syrinx out and up to Lahabah, and then manages to get herself out also at the very last second before the knock grabs her. Bryce begins to perform CPR on Syrinx, who finally comes back after quite a bit of effort.
Yeah.
The door won't hold Micah much longer, so her leg badly injured and not yet healed by the synth, Bryce begins to limp up the stairs with Syrinx to attempt to escape Micah. Lahabah stays back to try and buy them more time. Bryce begs Lahabah to come by telling her that she bought her freedom. Lahabah admits that she found the documents and knew. that with her first and last act of freedom, she would save her friends. Lahabah gives her life by using power to help break the tank containing the knock, bringing 100,000 gallons of water down upon herself and Micah. I am a descendant of Ranthia Drawl, Queen of Embers. She is with me now, and I am not afraid. My friends are behind me, and I will protect them. She chanted over and over and over again, right to the end. Everyone at the Senate, aside from stupid effing Sandriel, stand up to honor this brave little sprite.
Literally cry every time.
I'm trying to be okay right now.
I know. I was like, suck it in.
I can't.
You got this, girl. You got this.
I can't. And now everyone's going to see me ugly cry. It's fine.
You're not an ugly crier. Stop.
Lahabah bought Bryce enough time to go up to Jesiba's office to get the antidote that she had placed there for the synth still raging through her system. Thank you, Hypaxia.
Seriously.
She next grabs the Godslayer rifle that hangs above Jesiba's desk and the 6-inch bullet that goes to it. Bryce lines up and shoots the bullet, quote unquote, right through Micah's fucking head.
Yes.
To make it extremely final, she uses Danica's sword to slice him in two, straight down the middle, then lights him on fire. The whole summit then watches as she vacuums up Micah's ashes. Complete badass.
Oh,
every
my
time
favorite.
I read that, I just die. Because Kayla and I have talked about this. We picture that old Hoover-esque vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
And
This is no Dyson. This is no Dyson.
And I'm still picturing, she's got to plug that sucker in.
Yep.
She's got to like bring it over.
She got to
it's like that
cord.
heavy ass vacuum that she's like, yes.
Yep.
And then she's got to empty out that bag and bye-bye trash.
In the trash.
Oh,
Straight in the trash.
love.
Meanwhile, everyone at the summit is just watching this happen.
I can't imagine.
Like she's
watching
just
that.
doing her chores. Like
Unbothered.
it's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's nothing.
Unaffected by all of it.
God,
Yep.
I die
Next.
every time.
All right, you guys. So Micah's dead, and Bryce knows what's coming. Obviously she's going to be in trouble. But when the ox finally comes, she tells them it was just a gas explosion and basically shoos them off. Obviously, no one probably told them about the archangel being there and that she had killed them because everyone was watching it. So she waited and waited for them to come take her away and to punish her for what she had done, or even just because she had the horn inked in her flesh. She thought maybe that they would just try to detain her then.
Yes.
But Bryce goes down to the archives, and fortunately there were enough spells in the library to keep the book safe. But Lahabah, you guys, there's no trace of her. She's been extinguished. Not even a smudge of ash is left of this tiny fire sprite. It's so
sad.
I know. Anyhow, so she goes outside, and that's when she hears like the screaming. That's why no one had come for her. Micah's plan to open the portal had actually worked, though not to where he expected. All the gates throughout Crescent City had become gates to hell, like absolute chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Demons everywhere. It's insane.
Yes.
Bryce quickly takes Syrinx and runs to her apartment to grab an F ton of weapons and ammo. Then runs to the Asphodel Meadow to help the humans navigate to the bomb shelters. The doors are about to close like in an hour. But why is she running that way instead of to safety that's closer to her with all the other Fae? Because the humans are the most defenseless in the city. She is trying to protect them. She's killing demons left and right, using any and every weapon she has, including Danica's sword. But they just don't stop coming. Meanwhile, at the summit, Hypaxia unlocks Hunt's cuffs. Fury offers her helicopter to get help to the city, or Bryce. Hunt is yelling at Sabine to get the wolves there, but she claims there aren't any wolves left. But the Prime finally wakes up from his little nap that he has. I do appreciate a good nap. But he proclaims one wolf remains in the old square. And Sabina's like, no, that's just Danica's sword that you're sensing. He's like, a true wolf. And he calls to Bryce, touching his heart. You guys.
Dead. That part got me. I know, because F. Sabine, we love... I just wish the Prime was more involved.
I know.
Less napping, maybe.
Less napping.
Less napping, more awake, you know.
But as they're all watching Bryce going through all of this, Hunt calls in a favor to the Viper Queen because, you know, she royally fucked him over. Mm-hmm. Anyway, not one leader in the whole place has given orders to help her in the human sector. Everything is done under protocol. There's nothing to do. Hunt was like, fuck the protocols. Mm-hmm. But Sabine, you know, she's difficult. She calls for an update from Ethan. Of course, it's utter mayhem. Bryce calls Jesiba to make her final plea for help and say her last. So they all hear this because Declan broadcasts her call. And Ethan also hears the call and he says, I'm coming, Bryce. We're all coming. Sabine still tells him to stay put. And he's like, fuck you, and ignores her. He runs over with the packs and other canine shifters to help Bryce defend the humans. And then they do the best they can, but the doors to the bomb shelters are getting ready to close. They're so close to one of the bomb shelters. Bryce helps catapult Ethan in before it can shut, but she doesn't make it in herself. Now everything just seems hopeless. Mm-hmm. Bryce gets an idea and runs to the heart gate and say her last goodbyes, which is so sad. This is when she reveals that she forgives Rune and that she had like long ago, but she just didn't know when to tell him, kind of thing. Yeah. Which sucks because she was giving him such a hard time the entire time. But like also to her friends and to her mom and her dad and everything like that. It was, and then her little speech to Hunt too. No. And how she was like, you're my one. Then she goes to the gate where she reveals her starborn power. This is the secret that she's been holding on to forever. The pure light of a star from long ago is within her. It had been hidden deep with the Crystallis demon's venom, was still in her leg because, again, that nullifies veneer powers, which is also weird because supposedly this star is just light. It's not really a power. But maybe it just
she still had it. She says she can still feel it that whole time. She just can't use it. So it didn't nullify it. It just made it sleepy. Which makes sense. But after the Medwitch, Hypaxia healed her when she was trying to extract the demon venom from her leg. Then her starborn powers had awoken because they were sleeping. She uses the burning core of that power of starlight and uses it to close the heart gate.
Yay.
Just one though, not
one
all
down. So many to go.
This one was, I was sad because I felt like everyone was like desperate.
Yes.
Not everyone. Hunt was desperate to help.
Yes.
Oh, they're so
Bryce.
far away from her and they can't help at all. And she's just by herself and they're just sitting there watching her. I also thought it was interesting during this point. Sorry, tidbit. When she reveals her starborn power, she also has her flashback to reveal what actually happened with her and Danica long ago. When Danica first told her that she loved her, they had gotten into like a sticky situation with some asps that were trying to...
They were like smuggling things,
they
like
were
animals or something.
They were smugglers and they had gotten into a bad situation with them. They were basically holding them on the ground, guns to their head, getting ready to kill them. And Bryce looks over to Danica and says, close your eyes, Danica. And this is, other than that one time with the Oracle, the only time, other than her parents, specifically Mom and Randall, that she has told anyone about her starborn power. And Danica listens to her, closes her eyes, and then she proceeds to blind all of these asp smugglers. She also then, in true badass Randall Salago form, hops up, takes their guns from them, shoots every single one of them.
Mhm.
So I think they were still in college when this happened. They're
Yes.
very young, very traumatic thing that happened. Brought them very, very close together. But she had never let it come out. The only other time it had come out was when she was running away from the Autumn King.
Mm-hmm. With her parents.
And then technically with the Oracle. But really the Oracle, I think, was blind because that's the only thing that she could see when she looked into Bryce's future. So I thought it was interesting because they allude to this thing, this trouble that her and Danica get into.
Mm-hmm.
That
she never talks about, because remember, Lily has always asked her about this, and she won't tell me, kind of thing.
Yep. And she just has buried this down so deeply because of her fear for her brother and her dad's reaction. So I thought that was a little tidbit to ask.
Well, and like you pick up on like her references to Light It Up, and you're like, oh, that's what you're referencing. Yes. No. You didn't realize that? No. That's why, like, in part 1, they literally say, like, light it up and light it up, bitch, like, back to each other. That's, like, one of their goodbyes. And it's from that moment that you finally realize that connection.
Nope. Mm-hmm. Thank you for putting that together.
I love that I could do that for you.
Wait. Kayla, did you know 2? Was I the only one?
Yeah.
Of course, Carla. I'm dead. No, that's why that was like their like,
light it up, bitch.
Light it up. And
no,
like
that's
then
my
they would say
thing about this whole thing, and I didn't put that together.
Yeah, and then she would finally say her like love you when they said like after that, like she'd actually say it after that, because that was like how that went down.
Oh my gosh.
Because Danica doesn't say I love you to people. Well, neither does Bryce, but Danica really doesn't, and that was
correct.
It took her years to say it to her, and she said it to her.
I don't even know why I'm crying. I'm
y'all watch me try to get through this next section.
Yeah, good luck.
Suck it in. Okay,
I'm not ready.
Okay, so. Back at the summit, the Autumn King, lost in his rage, calls Bryce's mother, Ember, and calls her a bitch for keeping Bryce's Starlight a secret, which she proceeds to basically laugh in his face for never giving Bryce the time of day. Sucks to suck, asshole. The fact that as this is all going down, that's his first let me call my baby mama and tell her how much she sucks for keeping this, like, wild, that concept alone.
Yeah, and she's like, I've had this gift this entire time, and you could have had something that is so important to the Fae, but you wouldn't give your daughter, half-breed daughter, the time of day when she's literally going to be a legend of the Fae.
Yes.
Remind me again, was this phone call also broadcast through the summit?
Yes, it was.
Oh shit!
At this point, Declan had somehow like commandeered everyone's phone, so anyone's phone that came through all got broadcast.
Can we just give an A+ to Declan for
I
being
love
so
Declan
tech
so much.
savvy and just revealing everyone's secret in this moment? Like,
he's like, you want to have a private conversation? No,
no,
not allowed.
Exactly.
We're all telling secrets here.
While this is happening, Hypaxia sneaks her little way over to Hunt, and Rune distracts Sandriel, and she decides to break the spell on his halo, which unleashes his full power. As the halo disappears from his brow, Hunt stands and shoots lightning right through Sandriel's body and rips her freaking head off of her body. Like, what? The visual of this was just phenomenal in my brain. He then drops her head to the ground because she useless.
Drop.
Correct. Exactly. But drop. Way more dramatic. The fellow angels in the room kneel before him, which love. The group of new allies that come together from the summit go to the rooftop. Fury's helicopter, which was off location, God bless her, arrives, and Hunt, Fury, Rune, Therion, Flynn, and Amelie all head to Crescent City to help Bryce. The Asterian Guard arrives in the city with brimstone missile launchers and starts shooting them at Bryce's location. What the F, guys? Brimstone missiles are pure magic that combine angelic powers of wind, rain, and fire, bound by first light, and are then laced with a spell to slow healing. dramatic much. The first shot pins Bryce under some rubble, but does not kill her. Those in the helicopter see that they are preparing to shoot the missiles again, and this time, based on their trajectory, Bryce will not survive its landing. Hunt, being Hunt, catapults from the helicopter, full dive, and lands around Bryce, blocking her and taking the brunt of this hit. First off, his wings have not, like, they're not functional yet still. Like, he's just flying and hoping. And then also, I just can't fathom this just, like, casual descent where he envelops her and, like, she's just, like, blissfully unaware because of everything this, like, that whole thing was wild to me. Like, whoa. Well,
his aim, impeccable. Because,
how?
What?
There's got to be such force when he lands, right? Like, how does she not aware?
Well, and now I'm picturing, can you imagine if he missed? Like, she's just here and he's just like, splat. Can you imagine?
Oh, no.
My God. Sorry, that's what I think of when I'm, like, thinking of his aim being bad, and that really just sent me to a different level. Anywho, after he takes this hit from the missile, Hunt now lies there dying, and Bryce is screaming for help. But no one is coming. Bryce heads to the gate and puts her hand on the bronze disc. She begs someone to come to one of the other gates to try and act as an anchor for her to make the drop so she can attempt to seal the other gates with her power. No one answers, and she goes back to Hunt to tell him she loves him. Light it up is heard through the gate, softly at first, but then it repeats, louder. Light it up. Bryce sprints to the gate and makes the drop. Though Bryce sees Danica, this is technically an untethered solo drop because a dead soul cannot serve as an anchor to the living world. Meanwhile, Declan is tracking her drop, still at the summit, using the Eleusian system. Bryce drops way past her expected power level. Hypaxia realizes that this gate is actually a blessing. Every offering and all the power that has ever been given to this gate over the last many centuries is now going directly into Bryce.
And every gate.
Wild. Every gate in the city glows with first light, and she does end up closing those gates, healing the city, and she manages to, not to her knowledge at this point, heal Hunt in this process. Like, that's how insane this first light drop is. And so she continues down into her power, so much so that she just barely surpasses that of the Autumn King, which is so satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
Screw you.
Yep. Way past her brother.
All of it. I love.
And it was like, I loved it was 0.03.
0.003.
0.003 past the Autumn King. I was like, yes.
It just feels even more, like, satisfying, I think, that it's just that. Like, if it had been major, it'd have been like, oh yeah, that's cool. But the fact we went that specific with it, fire. So initially, upon getting to the bottom of this drop, Bryce does not want to make the ascent back up to life because she wants to remain with Danica. Danica says she and Connor want more for Bryce in this life and reveal that while making the drop, her first light did heal Hunt. Bryce starts the ascent just before the point where she would have died. Danica ran beside her the whole way. At the end point, Danica gives the last kernel of her soul to help catapult Bryce through the deepest parts of the drop. For once, Sabine shows some emotion, tears streaming down her face as she said that Bryce isn't alone, knowing that kernel of her daughter would be gone forever. I know.
Okay.
Simultaneously, Hunt is helping keep Bryce's body alive through this process by doing chest compressions and sending lightning to her heart to keep her going. Personal AED much? He calls her a fucking coward for waiting until he was dying to tell him that she loves him. He tells her to come say it to my face. As Bryce hears him, she explodes back into life. Through her drop in first light, like we said, she manages to close every gate, healing the carnage of the city. The only ones that couldn't be healed are those that were already dead. The bunkers then reopen, and Bryce and Hunt leave hand in hand. Bryce and Hunt return to Syrinx in her apartment. Bryce finds an 8-pointed star scarred between her breast. We get a moment between Bryce and Hunt, but they are, of course, quickly interrupted by Bryce's frantic mom calling to check on her. The next call comes from Regulus, the bright hand of the Asteri, calling Bryce to give him his gratitude and thanks for what she did. They grant her a favor in the form of freeing Hunt. It's essentially a threat. So the whole thing is live a quiet life. Don't tell anyone what really happened. Don't ever use the horn again. And we won't kill you and everyone you love. You're welcome.
Yep.
Bryce, thankfully, is smart in this moment and remains calm and has no quick remarks as she tends to because she knows better. In
Probably
this
got
moment.
nothing left at this point, honestly.
But yes, also that.
God bless.
Before they leave, Rune, Fury, and Flynn come to check on Bryce. Rune and Bryce hold each other all forgiven. After days of work, when she has a moment alone, Bryce opens her phone and finally replies to Connor's message. I'm home. And she then proceeds to delete all the messages from Connor and Danica because it is time to try and move on. We see the epilogue. The epilogue. Fast forward. We see Adis and Jesiba discussing Bryce's starlight power. They mention it was Thea's light, which they thought had been extinguished forever. Adis goes on to mention that he thinks that Hunt's father would have been proud of him and that Jesiba knew Hunt's father best. Dun dun dun.
Honestly, this epilogue was what like kept me up at night for like I don't even know how long after this.
Yes.
I was like not okay just from that. I was like, what do they mean?
Uh-huh.
Who is his father?
Uh-huh.
So many questions.
You don't know. Not yet.
I don't know.
Oh my
like,
gosh.
I just don't know, period, ever.
All right, guys. We did it.
We did it.
We did it, guys.
We did a recap of all 4 parts of Crescent City 1. So much happens. For me personally, I remember reading this and thinking, like, I think I described this to you guys before. You remember in elementary school, you like get the pattern of what a story should be. You like hit your climax and then you go back down to the resolution.
Little bell.
So yeah, and I picture it as like a mountain, like climbing up to the climax. I thought that Micah was the climax. In any other story, sure, yeah, that would be the climax. No. Then I thought Sandriel was the climax.
Mm-hmm.
Hold my phone. Nope. Still not. We're still going. Like, I just could not wrap my head around the fact that it was like more things were happening.
Yes.
I feel like it's so common in a Sarah J. Maas book that
Yes.
like the last, people talk about this all the time, the last 100 to 200 pages is just mayhem the whole time and it never stops. You can't come up for breath the entire time. And that's how I felt the whole end of this book. Like I could not come up for breath because it just kept happening.
Yeah, no, her graph was just a straight up the whole time. Didn't stop, never stopped. And even at the end, like we didn't like
the resolution was like a
not even like we still, because that epilogue still was just like keep going.
Yeah.
Where do we stop? Oh wait, we don't. We just don't. To the very end. Like keep it coming.
Yep.
There was just a lot of like jaw-dropping moments for me. Like I remember when we were reading this, Kayla, you were just like, I remember you telling me like, I thought I was there, and I'm something else happens, and I'm like, what happens? Like, because I was still like behind, but I'm like, oh God. And then I'm like, oh, this must be the part. And I'm like, oh shoot, no, this is the part, because so I do remember it just so many emotions in this thing. That's why I really loved it, because I was sad and I was happy, and because of all the funny banter, I definitely laughed for all of it. But yeah, it's a good book.
It's such a good book.
Lily dying. I mean, we have to give her her own spotlight. That part, we've talked about this so many times over the years, wrecked me. The fact that like her speech, what she says, the fact that she was free, Bryce had just freed her, and like she's like, that's fine. I don't care. My first act of as a free person is to save my friends.
I cried for 30 minutes, you guys. No joke, no exaggeration. Sobbing. Not just like tears, like ugly cry. That whole thing.
Yeah. Every single, because again, this is my third reread. I don't care that I know what's going to happen. It destroys my soul every time, and I bawl like a baby. Yep. Every freaking time, because it's just such a tender moment. And like the fact that, like, yes, she had been enslaved all prior to this, but she still, you know, like found her true friendship even through all of that. And like she feared that creature so much and like hated it so much, and she still was like, I don't even care that this is the I'm gonna wreck into this tank and we're going to bring it down on Micah. Life be damned. Like,
and as soon as the knock touches air, it died. It literally like shriveled up and died.
Thank
so
freaking God. Ugh, hated the thing.
You guys, it was just so well written. Like, I could feel Bryce's heartbreak. I felt Lily's love for her and for Syrinx, and I just like, even just talking about it, I'm already getting choked up.
I know.
I'm okay.
So good.
Very well written. And then of course you finally like emotionally recover, kind of, not even, from that, and then they freaking hit you with Bryce's drop. That freaking also just rocks my world every single time. And of course you finally get this like brief little moment where you finally see Sabine's tiny little heart, and she's actually crying, knowing like her daughter's gonna be like completely essentially erased, like and like that, just like all of it in its completion,
well, and I think she was really proud of Danica in that moment. You could feel that she was actually very proud of her for all the crap that she talks about her and all the ways that she says she's a disgrace. I think she was very truly proud of her, because the Autumn King through that entire time kept saying she's alone, she can't make the ascent back up.
But people just die. It's never been like heard of before.
He says, I've researched this for centuries and no one has ever been able to make it back up.
I wonder why he's researched it though.
Because the people that are doing it are going below. They're getting more power than they're supposed to. So they go way below their level of what they're supposed to, and they get way more power, and then they can't get it back up. And he says basically that their body is not even physically made to be able to withstand the amount of power that it takes to get back up. So he says that with Bryce. He was like, she was not genetically made to be able to handle that. And Bryce or Danica gives her that bump, and then all the other creatures that have given little tiny blips of power over the years to the gates, they name all these different creatures that are essentially giving her a boost into every new level, because he had no power. It was negligible. Regardless of the light, that's not power. So yeah, that part, man. I know. Well, and then I feel like we haven't really touched a whole lot on First Light. First Light is what is generated after someone takes the drop. Everyone in all of Midgard, when they do the drop, they donate their First Light. The first part of it is given to healing. So it's given to Medwitches. The next part is given over to the city, basically, and they use it to power. It's their electricity, essentially. It's given to the grid, and then they're left with like a tiny little kernel that they use in their drop parties, where they make like glow sticks and crap like that.
Wild.
But Bryce projecting her First Light through all of these gates closed them and healed the entire city. So I just think that First Light is pretty freaking cool, and it's very, very important to the story.
Yeah.
Hunt and Sandriel.
I know. That was a great moment.
We see Hunt's full power. First time in centuries that it's been seen.
His kill blow.
Yeah. What was your guys' impression?
I mean, I mean, even thinking back to my first read and like seeing just how much power this man has, I was like, sir, how did you actually get enslaved? Like, truly, like, he seems to hold just this insane amount of power. Like, to then have that stifled, it was still powerful, even stifled. Like, I just feel like there's definitely a lot more to his story, and I can't wait to find out.
Is there?
I don't remember. For sure. Come on, absolutely.
There's
we already
a lot
are
that goes
teasing at it. Even if you
There's
don't know
a lot
what
that
it
goes
is.
into Hunt Athalar.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
She's not
for that roller coaster. I'm not prepared. I just try to live through the moment. So you know when Bryce goes to the CBD to try to plead for Hunt's freedom because Micah just gave her to Sandriel. And she's like, I did, like, here's this money. I will give, I don't know, like 9 million or something like that. It was something ridiculous.
It was like 93 million.
Something. It was
whatever
million.
Like was
double
like owed
something.
the debt that was owed.
It was
previously
10 million more than what he was bought by
trying to find
Sandriel
the
for or
millions.
whatever.
So she brings that, and then she offers herself up in his place, and like Hunt is mad at her. He's like, why would you do this? Like, why would you give yourself up? Why would you like put yourself in that much debt just for me? And so the way he kind of like pushes her away or kind of like ends it, like make it like a non-debatable thing, is like basically he like, fuck off, like you're not who I want to be with, like just
He
leave.
says, you owe me nothing and I owe you nothing.
Yeah, like her heart, this poor Bryce, like just her whole life.
I know, but she does go on to say almost immediately that she doesn't believe anything of that. She knows exactly what he's doing because he's trying to just make her forget about him.
Yes, but do you
know?
also think he said that to kind of like protect her because he's trying to make it seem like she is not important to him, to protect her
for sure.
afterwards, also not just be like a replacement for him?
Yeah. No, he wants her to move on with her life. And he thinks the only way he's going to be able to do that is by cutting deep, cutting ties, because he doesn't think that he's ever going to see her again. As soon as the summit is done, he's gone. He's going back to Northwest Pangaea, where frickin' Sandriel rules over, and gonna probably live in her dungeon of horrors forever.
It was 97 million marks.
Wow. Not 9 million.
97 million gold marks, which would have, she said, put her in debt with Jesiba for centuries.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's Vanir now. So, well, not at that point, but now she's Vanir.
Yeah, so she would literally
she really would have
never stop working for Jesiba, literally ever, I feel like.
And then when the summit, when everyone is like parading in my mind, I saw like Hunger Games kind of parading in, where everyone has like their little space, and they were just like all dressed up in their fancy and representing their little quadrants or whatever.
No, I mean, kind of.
I picture like the flags and everything, like
and like this huge like audience being like projected out to everybody. Everyone's watching. You don't have to be there, but so that's in my mind. That's what I kind of imagined, and I'm like, and all their.
I just wish I could have been like a fly on the wall to see like Rune's reaction of seeing Hypaxia, because obviously they've spent a decent amount of time together at this point. She's spent a lot of time with Hunt and Bryce with making the antidote and whatnot. So, and she becomes queen actually there during the opening.
They recognize her as queen.
Recognize her as queen. So I was like, Woo! And that's who your dad wants you to marry,
which is
and is in talks with.
Interesting, because she pretty much says that's not going to happen in so many words. I feel like in one of their interactions, she's
Absolutely.
like, "Yeah, nice thought, bud." She clearly is not into that idea, even though they've had a positive interaction. She seems to have no intention to like want to follow through on that.
So I know we give Rune a hard time about never knowing Hypaxia's name, but I have to confess that sometimes whenever I meet people, even like maybe even let's say a work setting or like a school setting, like sometimes I volunteer in my kids' school, I can't remember. I don't think about asking me because I'm just scared to ask somebody anything. Like I'm totally introverted in that way. Like I don't want to seem like I don't know somebody's name. So yes, we give them a hard time for not knowing her name, but I probably would have done the same thing.
But it's just funny because the book points out like, oh, I never caught her name. And then at one point Flynn's like, who's that? And he's like, I don't know. And it's just like so funny because they interact so many times for her to just really be like, yep, that's the Medwitch. She's my Medwitch friend. I don't maybe one day I'll know more.
Back by her beauty. He's just
lost
gorgeous.
Her words.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that there's this, I mean, the Valbaran witches are not a part of the city heads. Even though they're at the summit as a head, but they're not listed under the city heads.
Yeah.
Of having a sector and having like, everyone else has their gate, they have their section, and they don't talk about that with the witches, which is interesting to me when it is such a large section and subset of Vanir. So maybe it is only the large I don't know. But they do talk about how in other cities there are different ruling classes. So it's not always it's usually a shifter, and it's usually, they said, a predator shifter, which makes sense.
Yes.
But it's different from one city to the next. One it could be wolves, and it could be X, Y, and Z. I feel like we also didn't talk about the fact that I think I just grieved Danica a lot through this entire book. Like, I grieved a character that I wanted to know more about, that I wanted to be involved, that I wanted to have more interactions. Like, I think I just grieved not getting her as like a full-blown character this entire book. Because in the beginning they talk about her being not only like the prime apparent, but also the strongest wolf in living history, and will go on to be the prime of all wolves in all of Midgard, because she is that strong. I'm like, just what an amazing character. I want to see that.
I know. I think, but that's why like her loss holds so much weight for us. Even you had all of this potential. Again, we got enough of a little touch of it to like want more from her, and then to be taken away from. It was really a loss for us as well as readers to not get to experience her through a whole book.
I need a prequel. Sarah J. Maas. I need a Danica prequel. We want to see all the things she was up to. We already know how it ends, and that's kind of sad. But
you're like, I need more.
I want a prequel.
Yeah.
Do you think when Danica had her time with the Oracle that she understood what through love all is possible meant, or what that would be for her future?
No. And that is still relevant.
Oh, God.
In the next book.
Okay.
So there's a lot of meanings of that for Danica, even outside of her and Bryce.
Yeah.
So also with the Oracle, Rune's prophecy, or what they said, how he would be the last.
He will be the last of their royal family.
Yeah.
There will be no more heirs, which is why he desperately does not want Bryce to be labeled as
an heir,
one of their royal family for so long. That's his whole purpose for why.
To protect her.
Do you guys think he's sterile, or do you think he's going to die?
I don't want to think about it.
I would be so sad. Not to wish sterility onto him, but like there's something to that because I do still want his character involved. I really loved watching their whole relationship evolve. And then we didn't even touch at the end where she's like explaining that she's been hiding this light. So much of that was because she didn't want to essentially bypass him, because he knew how important it was that he got that sword and he had that even tiny minuscule.
He was the chosen one.
Starlight, and was the chosen one. And she just did not want to ruin that for him. And the whole time he's just absolutely devastated that that's what she thinks is important to him. He was just blown away by that. And he was just like, you are so much more important to me than being the chosen one. Like, that does not matter to me at all in this situation. Like, that's what's that also
so sweet
touched me.
That part was so cute.
But yeah,
I think he's gonna die.
Probably, but I don't want him to. Like, that's where it stems from.
Because
but technically she's now been claimed.
Yeah,
but she is part of the royal family. So
I just think he's gonna die, and it's gonna be so sad because Lahabah died, and so we love him. He's loved her. They kill off
Syrinx, I swear to effing God. I will riot.
Could you imagine? Oh my God, the tears.
I will riot. I'm not kidding.
Oh my God, I'm dead. Yeah,
you will write a strongly worded letter.
I'm picturing you just writing an email to her. You're like, I will use this platform and I will tell you.
Dear Sarah J. Maas, I am rioting.
Bring him back.
This has to be a character you actually raised from the dead, or else. Thank you.
Man, that lady, I tell you what. Okay.
I know.
There's so much that happens in this book.
Yes.
So many parts that we could touch on.
Yes.
But, Veronica, what is your favorite parts of this book?
My favorite part was Bryce's drop. Because light it up, bitch, which I just recently found out what that meant.
Now you have a whole new meaning. I saw your face when she put her hand on it and she said light it up because she's telling her to light up the gate.
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah.
And your face was like,
literally. Yeah. I love that part so much.
That's just my favorite. I love that even through all of it, it was just Bryce is so important to Danica that she just gave up. Like, everyone loves Bryce. They give up. Because Bryce would do the same thing for them, right? And so, look at me, I'm just crying again. But that's my favorite part. Or at least that's the part that I will always remember and will convince me to read all 800 something pages. Oh, wait, I do have a question. Hold on, sorry. One more question. Part of this. So, do you remember how they said that when a fae goes through an ordeal, the greater the ordeal, the greater the fae. But
the greater the fae, the greater the ordeal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So supposedly Bryce is only half fae and without any power. How did she become such a great fae to have such a big ordeal?
I mean, I feel like I know they pinpointed the whole knock thing being her ordeal, which to me feels like, compared to what we have heard, seems small. I think that whole thing was her ordeal.
Yes.
That's what I think.
Which is why I think I know it's really the gate giving her the power, but like, I think her ordeal matches the level of power she got. Like, even though that wasn't the thought, the plan, whatever, the universe knew she needed this insane ordeal to match her level of power, I think.
They believe so heavily in fate.
Yes.
That it was fate for her to have that level of power. Because it always had to be her. No one else could have closed the gate.
Correct.
Because you have to, this is one thing that Micah didn't understand. You have to be starborn to use that horn.
Mm-hmm.
Not anyone can use that horn. Only a starborn
Mm-hmm.
can use that horn.
Mm-hmm.
He thought that he could use synth to bypass that. It wouldn't have actually truly worked because it was technically still Bryce
Yeah.
that used it. He shot his power through her.
Yes.
So it always had to be her
Mm-hmm.
that closed those gates. It always would have been her that gave her first light to and absorbed all that power.
Yeah.
So I think it was just fate. It was known she was destined for greatness.
Yeah, I agree.
Man. Okay. That's it.
Love it. Bree, favorite part?
Obviously love the drop. That just is such a good moment. And then, of course, sweet, sweet little Lily giving up her life for Bryce. Like, I mean, I don't know which one wins out for me. They're just both so high for me. And again, I cry every time. So, like, I would just change nothing about either one of those moments. I love them both.
I do love the different shades of red that you were turning when you were going through those parts, because I was like, oh, she's feeling the things.
Yes, guys, I turn red. You're welcome when I have a lot of feelings. So
At some point, we may or may not end up doing a Bree red meter.
rude.
Like, how red do you think Bree's gonna get from this statement alone? Just us talking about this, she's gonna get red.
I'm really trying not to. I'm trying to like maintain my breathing, not think about it too hard.
You have no control over it.
Oh, I'm trying though. I'm trying really hard right now.
I'm impressed. I mean, coming after both of you is hard because obviously you guys both nailed it. Yeah, I mean, the drop, unforgettable. Lily's death is like unforgettable. Like both of those would just stick with you. I think everyone who reads this book is going to have those two moments really stick with them. I also just really loved her relationship with Lahabah. All the tiny little moments, little quirks back and forth. Like, it was those little moments that like really added up to make that so much more powerful. Yes. I also talked about the fact that I liked how they incorporated like all the modern aspects into it. I really did. That's one of the things I liked the most about the book was how they made it modern, but still fantasy at the same time. So seamlessly incorporated.
It's so good.
And then just the whole entire last scene. I mean, I just had like not the last scene, but like during her ordeal, if you will, I felt like my heart was in my throat the entire time. Like, that's just good writing. It's really good writing. There's a reason why Sarah J. Maas has this cult following, because her books just have a way of
pulling you in,
captivating people like that, you know? So yeah, agreed. Samesies to all those things. V, who is your favorite character?
I think I actually have two. I think you can all guess. I am obsessed with Jesiba. But I also think I really have, like, I don't know. I love Adis. I don't know. I feel like...
You did sound very excited when I mentioned him during that recap. And I was like,
Like, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by him. And I think it was probably the epilogue. Yeah, that really like got me. I'm like, tell me more.
Yes.
What are you about? What do you know? Who's Thea or whatever?
Thea.
Like, I am intrigued by him.
You'll get to know more about Thea in book 2. You'll also get a lot of more Adis in book 2.
I read book 2 and I don't remember.
I know. So
welcome back.
You will find out.
I will find out.
Yeah, you'll find out. Okay, Bree, favorite characters?
I mean, Lily always and forever. Love. And then just Bryce and Danica. Again, I just love this very strong, intelligent, woman-led friendship that even though one of the characters is basically dead the whole time, like, again, you just really resonate with that friendship. And like, ugh, I just love it so much. And it makes me think about our friendship. And so it just really hits me even harder.
Chad.
Sorry, not trying to
sad.
gut punch
I love
you.
it.
I love it. Me, Lahabah. I just love her so much. She's so quirky and so sassy, and her little trash TV that she sits on her like fainting chair. Like, God, I love her. I love that she's obsessed with Hunt. She calls him Athy. Like, God, everything about her I just loved. I also love Searings.
Yes.
He's so cute, and he just disappears and then comes back, and
yes,
Bryce has no idea, but Hunt knows. It's just hilarious. I love the otters. So basically all the creatures, all the little fuzzy creatures. Yes. She's not fuzzy, but love them. And then I say I have a love-hate, not hate, hate's not the right way, love-hate relationship with Bryce and Danica. I love them. I love their relationship. I love how much they loved each other. It's like a very good, pure friendship.
Yeah.
They really like didn't need anyone else. They would have been happy just being together for the rest of their lives, which is beautiful. They also didn't bring out the best in each other a lot. Yeah. So I wanted to kind of throttle them a lot of the times. Like, you want to just shake them. Like, all of the danger that Danica puts herself in, the situations where Bryce puts herself in where she doesn't trust someone else. She's so smart and like does all these things, but she does it on her own and doesn't trust other people with the information. And this is a common theme for her that doesn't really stop forever. She's very self-reliant, which is fine, but she just has to learn to like let people in again. So I loved their relationship, but I also wanted to shake them a little bit in general. Overall, feelings of the book.
Love.
Reading it again. How was that? You guys are not read again people.
We're not read again people, but then because I don't recall a lot of the things.
So it's like reading it for the first time.
It is, but then it also like brought to light a lot of the things that I had forgotten, or like it just really opened up my eyes to some of the things that I missed. Or obviously I still didn't see everything because again the lighted up thing. But but I love this book. I am looking forward to looking at book 2 again, and definitely can't wait for book 3 to come out.
I know.
End of January. So
so excited.
So excited. What about you, Brie?
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. This is becoming something that is feeling more nostalgic to me, and is something I do think I could actually reread again. I know I say that's just not my great love, but especially this one, I just like the whole story is just so good, and I really do every single time pick up something new, and I feel like now I finally have like actual knowledge of what the heck's going on, because again, the first read on this one, there's no way you can pick up everything. Like, it's so dense. So even the third time I'm learning new things and making some connections I definitely didn't even in my second read.
Yeah, I agree. I feel the exact same way. I love these books. They're very different than other ones that Sarah J. Maas has done, but yet still similar in their own unique kind of way. There's lots of little things in them that I'm picking up on that, you know, I just read Throne of Glass. I've read ACOTAR 1,000 times, so I'm picking up a lot of Easter eggs. And this one I definitely picked up on a little Easter egg there at the end that got me all excited. So I'm going to go over those because I just thought it was so interesting. So when Bryce is fighting off Micah, she reaches for the bookcase and she lists off these books that are on the bookcase. All 3 of the books that are mentioned by Bryce when she's fighting off Micah are books that are in other stories in the Sarah J. Maas world. So the first book she says is the Book of Breathing, which is a key book in ACOTAR, as it contains all the information that nullifies the cauldron. Somehow, it ends up in Midgard in Jesiba Roga's library. The Book of Breathing in ACOTAR was split in half and protected because it gives all of the information to nullify the cauldron. The making and the unmaking of the cauldron. The next book that they talk about is The Queen of Many Faces. This book is not specifically referenced in the world, but The Queen of Many Faces, to me, I think of Maeve, because Maeve could change her face to resemble anyone in the world, and she did frequently. The last book is The Walking Dead, which is the book in Throne of Glass used to teach Selena the word mark spells that she finds inside of the glass castle. It is the book that frequently comes to her whenever she thinks about it and she needs to figure out how to do a certain spell when she's learning word marks. It's in Crown of Midnight. She uses it to lock and unlock doors. Word marks show green. The book that blasts Micah into the bathroom locks him, and it shows a green glow. So she used a word mark to shut him into that door. So all of these books are in other
universes,
worlds, and they all end up in Jesiba Roga's library. So is this the Great Library of Parthos? Is this really the Library of Alexandria? The Lost Library of Alexandria? Is it a interdimensional library?
Yeah.
And that brings me to my most important question. Who is Jesiba?
I want to know. I want to know.
I feel like she is someone big.
Oh,
like
for
really
sure.
big.
For sure.
So that is, I have my
thoughts.
But I feel like most of those have to be shared after book 2.
Yes.
So I will keep those to myself for now.
Thanks.
There's a lot of speculation around Jesiba, and I think there needs to be.
Yes.
Because why does she have all these books?
Yes.
That are from all the other worlds that we know about.
100%.
Yes.
She's always away, right? She's always away trying to get like new things to sell for her little antiquities shop. But maybe she's like always away doing other things and other places.
She's in other worlds.
And other times.
Yes.
Like, who knows? I don't know. She's all powerful and
we don't know what her actual power is, just that it's extremely powerful.
Yes. I am so excited to learn about her.
There's a lot. There's a lot, guys.
I'm very excited to get into that with the next book.
Yep. Because there's several things that I can't talk about till the end of the second book either. I just read the second book. They have not yet. I will probably reread it again for our next diving into that one. So I'm holding it all in, which they are very used to.
Proud of you. You can do it.
You can.
We're extremely excited to start book 2.
Yes.
It's gonna run very similarly to this, where it's gonna be a little longer. You gotta be ready
for book 3.
for Flame and Shadow.
Agreed.
January 30th. We are so excited. Another thing that we just want to touch on. We obviously talked about some sensitive topics today. So, one of which being suicide we just want to say, anyone, if you're struggling out there, please call the suicide hotline.
Mm-hmm.
We know how hard that just life in general is now
yes.
in this world. So we don't ever want to be triggering for anyone, but please use your resources.
Yes.
All right, guys, that's it for our episode today. If you want to join us for our Crescent City 2 recap, House of Sky and Breath, then please tune in 2 weeks from today, February 2nd, for our next episode. Also, if you like what you hear, tell your friends. And don't forget to please like and subscribe to our podcast. See you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.